Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell coming to you from my home in Arlington, Massachusetts. I want to talk about a tragic topic, the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. You know, these shootings bring forth all kinds of explanations. We talk about the need for gun control, which I certainly do think we need. We talk about the need for background checks. We talk about the need for better, more effective mental health screening, mental health treatment, all of which I certainly agree with. But I think the underlying cause is something that I've been talking about ever since Columbine, and I sort of think of Columbine as the watershed moment, when what I call disconnection became rampant. I remember being stunned and shocked when the Columbine tragedy took place, when someone, a student, came to school and murdered other students. That was stunning to me, and I couldn't believe it. I was aghast. Well, of course, now it happens so often that we aren't really surprised. You know, Hannah Arendt called that the banality of evil. When something terrible happens so often, it becomes banal, and that's a terrible, terrible sign, to become accustomed to that. But when people scratch their heads and say, why, I have a very definite answer. And I believe it's this epidemic of disconnection. I've studied and lived the power of connection, which is the most incredible, powerful force for good in life. But just as connection shapes us, molds us, strengthens us, and gives us pretty much everything worth living for, disconnection robs us of that. And we are living in this epidemic of disconnection, the modern paradox. As much as we've connected electronically, we've been disconnecting interpersonally. Neighborhoods, groups, old institutions that needed to be dismantled were dismantled, but nothing rose up to take their place. And so more and more you have people, free agents, people not knowing their neighbors, people nodding to each other but not trusting each other, an atmosphere of mistrust, of fear, of suing people instead of working it out, of calling in the police, of calling in the lawyers instead of sitting down and talking it through. This growing feeling of disconnection. And I think these murderers are like the canaries in the mine shaft. They're extreme. Yes, they're extreme. And the availability of guns certainly contributes to it, no doubt about it. And the problem of untreated mental illness certainly contributes to it. But I think these kids stand for something larger. They stand for pretty much the whole nation as we try to learn how to reconnect. The polarization, the standard rhetoric of anger, if not downright hatred, of contempt, of scorn, that gets lobbed back and forth from one side to another, routinely, on morning TV, evening TV, newspapers. This disconnection, which may be entertaining, is in fact really bad for us. The Surgeon General stated that the number one medical problem in the United States, the number one medical problem, was not heart disease or diabetes or cancer. It was loneliness. Loneliness. It's bad for you. It's bad for all of us. The school shootings, to me, are emblematic, are symptomatic of this sea of disconnection that we're living in. The beauty, however, of this particular problem is that we can solve it in our own individual lives. We don't have to wait for governmental policy to change. We can live intentionally connected lives. We can talk to the person at the checkout counter. We can get to know our neighbors. We can have family dinner. We can keep up with friends on an intentional basis. We can learn how to forgive someone instead of carrying on a feud. That one step alone will give you a longer life. if you learn how to forgive and make forgiveness a habit, if you approach other people with an attitude of laughing and smiling and understanding them, rather than judging and attacking or being defensive. This is such a solvable problem. I hope and pray that we will begin to, first of all, identify it, because once you identify it, you're well on your way to solving it. And then individually in our own lives, in our children's lives, in our workplace lives, we go out of our way to make those small personal moments, those small moments of connection, so that we don't continue this distance from one another that's so bad for us. The way those kids came together after the shooting, the way they joined together, the way they connected in a common cause was really heartening, tragic, raw, biting, but it was so heartening. Now, if we could all do likewise, come together, not around murder, but around our need for one another, and say, look, let's get along. It's so much better for us. This is Dr. Ned Hallowell, wishing you all well.